Most of the time, doing the pre-roll for these podcasts is the hardest part. Many successful podcasters will tell you that you've only got a few seconds to capture the audience to get their attention and tell them why they need to stay tuned in. Well, I think this one's going to be easy. Van Johnson and Shorty Gorham on the same show. I just got done with spending the last 3 weeks on the Paloma hanging out with Shorty, and we traveled together to the Horses, Hounds, and Mules sale. And to say we had fun is a gross misunderstatement. I'm telling you right now. If you're a houndsman, if you're a mule fancier, if you're a cowboy wannabe like me, this is the place to be. Farmington, New Mexico at the Horses, Hounds, and Mules sale. Van Johnson's got almost 70 years of experience under his belt of breeding his own hounds, professional outfitting. He's an author. He's lived a life. He's walked the walk. He can talk the talk. What a great interview. What a great time I had just visiting with Van. We had him on the podcast a few years ago and talked about his book, The Houndsman, and started to kind of talk about who Van Johnson is, but I can tell you, I only scratched the surface. He was on the Paloma and stayed there overnight. We had a great visit while he was there, and then we met up with him again at the Horses, Hounds, and Mules sale and got this great conversation on record, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. We dive into all kinds of stuff, everything from breeding practices to cold-nosed hounds to just general hunting stuff. And again, we just scratched the surface of this guy's knowledge and wisdom. And then you add in Shorty Gorham to that, who is out there living it every day. The last 3 weeks, every morning was a conversation. Are we going to go work? Or are we going to go run hounds? And more often than not, we went and ran hounds and then we worked the rest of the day. So he's out there in that dry ground country and he's catching a lot of stuff and keeping those hounds tuned up. Not to mention the fact that he's an excellent houndsman, has a wealth of knowledge for how to care for hounds, doctor dogs, all of it. So to wrap this pre-roll up, I want to promote that Horses, Hounds, and Mule sale, and I want to encourage you to look for the date announcements for next year. I was humbled. I was in the presence of greatness, and that's what I love about going to these types of events. When there are high-quality houndsmen on the grounds, you can just sit back and listen around the tailgate, wherever you're at, and you know that you're with guys that have been there and done that. It really is a houndsman rendezvous for lion hunters and cowboy stockmen, saddle tramps, or whatever you want to call them, that use hounds every day. Outfitters, guides, cowboys, whatever. They were all there. And they got to interact with the houndsmen too. So there is no other event in the Southwest like it. And I would encourage you to mark your calendars for next year because it's going to be bigger and better. I already know that. All right, folks, let's get down to it with Van Johnson and Shorty Gorham on this episode of the Houndsman XP Podcast. I'm glad you're tuning in. Make sure you go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Subscribe, like, check out our YouTube channel. All of our podcasts are on YouTube. Everyone since episode number 1. I get messages about where did your podcast go? Well, when we started the network, we had everything pulled off of the old feed, the old RSS feed, Tech Talk. So make sure that you pick up everything that you need. Go to YouTube, to Houndsman XP, and subscribe. And you can get everything we've ever produced there. Plus, we're dropping new live shows every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. All right, folks, let's get the tailgate down. It's time to dump the box.
You sound like Merle Haggard. That's good, isn't it?
It's good for me if it's good for you.
Good for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the one and only Van Johnson sitting with us in Farmington. And the famous guy that can't stop signing autographs, Shorty Gorham.
I know it. They're just swarming.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that, but
how many autographs you signed last night at the casino?
I don't know.
25?
No, not that many. A few. But
You get a beer for each signature.
No, I wish.
Yeah.
We can pay for the trip.
Oh, man. Well, looks like Tuff's over there doing tough stuff. He's digging in the dirt.
That's why that dog's barking, craving some tough.
Yep.
We're gonna have a. In fact, might be a good cross. One of Van's dogs with tough.
No doubt.
You could have a Yog Hound.
Yep.
Or what would you call it?
Yeah, we can call it a Yoghund. Yoghund.
Van Yak or something like that.
Van Yag. I like that.
Yeah. Well, Van, what are you doing back out in this country?
Well, just kind of traveling through. Came out to visit. We got a family reunion up south of Denver next week, and came by hopefully to see a few old friends and make some new ones.
Tell a lot of stories.
Tell a few stories. Listen to a few. I like listening at them also,
Yeah. Well, you got so many.
It'd be hard to listen if you had as many good stories as Van.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We were standing around talking last night and find out he hunted with Mike Cawley back in Louisiana, caught hogs in the New Orleans dump and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's been a while, but
Where all
still
have you
fond memories.
hunted?
I think,
Where haven't you hunted?
well, that'd probably be easier. I don't know. I just made about a 5,000-mile trip last 2 weeks into Vermont and West Virginia. And, I can't think of too many places I haven't hunted, actually, coast to coast and border to border.
All right. So I think people get the idea of you've hunted a lot of places.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite place to hunt?
Wow. That'd be a hard one. Vermont was awful good. The kind of looked like the woods was groomed up there almost, But probably New Mexico around Cuba, all in all, probably be one of the best.
You hunted there a lot.
Hunted there a lot, liked it, a lot of roads, fairly open woods, and no snakes.
Oh, what a blessing.
Yeah,
What's the elevation there in Cuba?
Probably around 8,000. It's higher than you think.
Right.
8 or 9 maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is it Ponderosa country? Or
Big
is it?
Ponderosa, yeah. Wisconsin was good. I really enjoyed Wisconsin. A lot of bear. I mean, about any road you drove down, 10, 15 minutes, you could find a bear to run. I think that's one reason why I like bear hunting. A lot of dry haul roads in cat hunting, but bear hunting, you can just about run one every day.
Get the action.
Get you action, yeah, a lot of action. I really enjoy watching hounds cold trail, I mean, that's cold trail and a lion and baying a bear is my favorite two things probably.
And that's interesting because
it's about cold trailing.
It's polar opposite. Baying a bear and cold trailing a lion is totally opposite.
Kind of like a racehorse and a plow horse, right?
But that's interesting that those are the two favorite things. And I mean, a dog that can do both is obviously a blessing, but it's
special dog.
Yeah.
So
what's your idea? Tell us what's your idea of an ideal cold trailing lion dog.
Well, one time several years ago, I was getting ready to sell a dog, and I got a piece of paper, and I kind of wrote out a description, what the dog was. And I said, he's a good-looking dog and had a tremendous mouth and cold trailed real good and fast, an outstanding tree dog. I just wadded that paper up because, you know what? That's one I've been looking for my whole life.
Did you sell the dog or did you end up keeping him?
I just kept him because that's the one I've been looking for.
There you go. There you go.
No, I like a good dog. I mean, you don't, an ideal dog is frame of mind, just subjective to the person, I guess. But I started out hunting. I had an ideal. I hunted foxhounds, and I wanted a saddleback, red-headed, ball-mouthed trail dog, chopped tree dog, and I wanted about 8 of them. That was my dream, when I started with. And kind of got crushed one time. I was hunting with DeMoss that started the Cascade Dogs, and I asked him what kind of mouth he liked in the dog, and he kind of looked at me for a second and said, I just as long as they're different, I don't want them the same. And I thought that just blew my whole theory up right there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I'm hard of hearing. So I love when dogs sound different than the other dogs. If they all sound the same, it's really tough for me to tell.
Exactly.
Other than with that damn Garmin, what they're doing.
Exactly.
These days, for me, if high pitch is better.
Me too.
Anything that's kind of deadpan, like I was telling you the other day, my Cajun dog, once he gets over 300-400 yards away, unless I'm, wearing the hearing aids, I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Right.
I want a Mythbuster type deal, but you were describing that dog that you wrote that paper out on, and you said he cold trailed good and he was fast. Can a dog cold trail fast?
Absolutely. But, a lot of people, I've hunted with people that thought they had cold-nosed dogs, but they had a dog that would trail a good track.
Slow.
Good. Yeah, or slow. But there are just very few people that, like in the South, Arizona, New Mexico area, that get down, those dogs get down and pound on a 2 or 3 old dry track down there that, is 2 or 3 days old, and those are cold trailing dogs but they've got to be able to move it, they just don't need to stand around and bark. But I like one to move good, and I don't like a dog that barks here once and out there 200 yards again. I like them fairly open and moving.
Yeah.
How fast is fast? I mean, because we've talked about it several times. A lot of times people might think they had a cold trailing dog, but they just got a dog that can't move a track. So what do you think's happening when those dogs are running that 2 or 3 day old track? And are they just picking up parts of scent? And they can't figure it out? Or when a dog's standing on its head?
What do you think, Shorty?
Why are some dogs able to take that track and run it that's 2 or 3 days old, and other dogs, they can smell it and they'll open on it, but they won't move it?
For me, I think one thing is brains and the desire to catch the game. Now, you got some dogs that are very content in trailing, and they'll do it every day, day in and day out, and they don't need to catch game because they're content trailing. Mm-hmm. And then you got other dogs that they want to catch the game. I don't know that one dog has a better nose than the other, but the desire to get ahead and keep it moving because they know the animal's not there where they're smelling it. It's ahead. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but I do think there's something in the desire to catch the game versus the desire to just trail game.
Let me add a little bit to that, and I agree with everything you said, but the reason all dogs basically can smell the same. I don't think bloodhounds have long ears, and that's the scoop to stir the skin up so they can smell it better. That's a plus for a long-eared dog. But the reason why a dog will open on a colder track than another dog will is because of the genetics. The excitability factor in their genes make them open faster than another dog will. Maybe a blue tick might open faster than a walker. I'm not saying that a walker doesn't have a cold nose, but I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. I get my lab out of the truck. The hound's going to smell where the lion made his scrape 3 days ago, and the lab is too. The difference is the genetic makeup that a hound wants to go find it, where the lab doesn't have that instinct to trail it.
Exactly.
And doesn't have that drive to go find it.
And
now, if you shot it with a shotgun and knocked it out of the sky, my hound wouldn't be worth a snot to go retrieve it. You know?
And that's something. What was Seth? Is it Seth? They're the scent. They have that deal in Texas. Is it in Amarillo? You did a podcast with him. I turned you on to him. The guy that does the scent.
Oh yeah, Dr. Nathan Hall.
Nathan Hall.
Texas
There
Tech.
you go. I was thinking Seth Hall. Yeah, Nathan Hall.
This guy,
that would be something interesting for him to dissect, the desire versus the ability to smell.
To give you an idea what that guy's credentials are, prior to 9/11, there basically been just a couple $1 million spent on studying dogs' olfactory senses. Since 9/11, he's spent over $11 million in grant money doing nothing but studying how dogs determine, identify, develop scent pictures. Whatever makes that dog's nose work is what he studied. And he spent over $11 million doing it. And we captured it on a podcast. We talked to him about it.
Yeah, we need to hit him again.
Yeah. That's one of the places that, you can't get too technical in this stuff, but to me, not knowing how my hound's nose works is like me not knowing how my rifle works. That's the essential tool.
Yeah.
And if I don't understand how that works, then my level of success or my chance of being successful goes way down, I think.
Well, and even if you're not successful, to me, I try to pay very close attention to the environmental conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Temperature, humidity, the barometric pressure, the wind, all that stuff goes into, and then if you can determine the age of the track, but all of that goes into how them dogs are going to trail a track, and I had a guy told me a long time ago, which really resonated with me, and it's always stuck, is you don't have a great dog one day and a shitty dog the next. There's something that made that track more difficult to trail or whatever. And so
a lot of variables.
There's so many variables. And I think the great houndsmen that, you've done it enough, it just comes second nature to you, but when it's going to be a tough day, when it's going to be easy day, and then you can judge your dogs according to the conditions.
Well, it's just like Chris said about the rifle. It's results that counts. It's not
right.
Not that we understand it. It's the results, I think, that matters. So,
right.
Yeah, and it's like even if the conditions aren't right that day, you're not you're not going to pack up and go home.
No, and
if you get a client or you got a job, and
you still want a dog to turn that day into a successful day.
Yeah, and you can't do that unless you hunt the bad days.
Correct. And
you don't know what you got.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But it does give you. For me, I'm analyzing my dogs every time I take them out.
Do you still do that, Van?
Analyze them?
Oh yeah.
Probably. You so much stuff you do after you've done it so long, you don't know why you do it.
Yeah.
It's just second nature. People ask me, well, why do you do this and why do you do that? And I have to think about it a little bit because it's just something I've done so long that I don't even think about it anymore. But
do you think beginners overthink things too much?
I don't know. I guess along that line, I just like to. One thing that keeps popping up in my brain when you start this conversation is the progression of a hunter, anybody that's successful. They start out not knowing anything. They go through a learning mode. They progress to a know-it-all mode, and then they hopefully someday they get into a sharing mode, and that's what I hope that I'm in. I love to share what I know. Sometimes I don't know what I know, but
I want to add one step in there. I think for most of us, you go through the know-it-all mode, and then you go to the mode where you don't know it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I should light up that one out. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Well, okay, so knowing all those things that you don't know.
Okay.
What's the number one thing that you think makes you successful?
My hounds.
And what about that hound? What
makes the hound successful? Yeah. I think the personal relationship that you have with your dog. If your dog, most dogs want to please you, and if you start out with a relationship with your dog and he comes to the point, I'll give you an example. If you got a dog that runs a deer and you go out there and you thrash the heck out of him the first time you catch him, he don't know what he's getting whipped for. But if you go out there and discipline him, and then a little stronger the next time, and then pretty soon he realizes, hey, I'm not supposed to do this. Then you'll get on him pretty hard. It's over. At that point, you've won the game. That's my philosophy.
What's your definition of, you said, don't thrash him, but going out and discipline him? What's the difference in those two things for you?
I think
successful? Just
the philosophy of what the speed that I whoop him, I say. I think you and every dog's they're like people. Some are sensitive, some are hard-headed. I guess that comes back to your relationship with the dog. You just know that. But there was a study one time, I think at Miller School of Hounds, if you've ever heard of them. That's maybe before you guys' time, but they put out a little book, and if they heard of an exceptional dog somewhere, they went and had a set of questions, and the one.
What's the name of that?
Miller School of Hounds.
I'm writing it down.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
They kept about 200 hounds in training, and kept really good, kind of like the guy was sent, kept good records, and they published 2 or 3 real small books, but real interesting books. And the one thing that they found was the relationship with the owner and the hound was the big deal.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I want to take it back a little bit just to make it clear. The relationship, I do agree, is important, but you're probably not going to go to the pound and adopt a hound and make a great dog. You've been breeding your dogs for decades, and your bloodline, and that to me has a lot to do with everything too. You got to start with the right dog and the right genetics, and then have that relationship with them. What about, how long have you been breeding hounds for?
Well, I've been, do the math.
Nobody cares here. You don't have to be precise.
69 years, something like that. But anyway.
69 years.
Yeah, I started when I'm 9, and I'll be 78 this year.
And that's why I wanted to be clear. Like, we're not talking about a pound dog. We're talking about
when you breed
genetics.
You've been at it long enough that with your genetics and your breeding, that when you put a dog in a situation, you pretty much know how that dog should react or is going to react. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's good. But I guess what I'd like to say about on this train of thought, that when I started hunting dogs, I didn't have my breed.
Correct.
And so I hunted everybody's dogs, and the one comment that I heard most is, how can you take 15 dogs that know nothing at the beginning of the season? In the season, you've got close to finished dogs. It was because I had a system. That system worked for me, and I trained those dogs. But when I got the dogs that I have now, I could train one of those dogs the same time I could train 10 of those.
Right.
I could train. Well, I got it backwards. I'm terrible at this, guys. I could train 10 of my good dogs the same time it would take to train one of those other dogs.
And that's the point I was trying to make by saying that is it's genetics, and that has a lot to do with.
Well, and I got absolutely lucky on that deal, and I don't know how, but just I raised a lot of different dogs out of those dogs, out of everybody's dogs, and I never ever got a pup that I felt that was as good as the parents were. I had some exceptional dogs that I trained out of other people's dogs, but I never raised pups out of them that I thought were the same quality. And when I got into the dogs I've raised for the last 50 years, they just seemed to be uniform, and pretty much I felt that you could breed that dog, Pacific dog that I had, to a collie and come out with a good dog. He was just a reproducer, and I don't know why that is. I don't understand nothing about it. It's just facts. It's just like shooting that rifle and it hit the bullseye. I don't know why, but it did. You know.
So would you in your breeding program, would you consider yourself? Are you kind of line breeding these dogs, or?
Well, I guess how do you define line breeding and inbreeding? To me, if it works, it's line breeding. If it don't, it's
100%
inbreeding.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
But what works the best for me through generations of dogs, and if you go look at the dogs that I'm hunting right now, they're probably at least a quarter of that old dog.
Right.
I guess you would call that line breeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I make an outcross, I go back into as pure cousin, aunts, uncles, and keep that same line and dilute that outcross.
Right.
And get back to where I'm thinking I'm reaching to the point where I need to make another outcross. So about every 4 generations, I like to make an outcross, and in the meantime, I'm breeding cousins and uncles and nieces.
Wimp Aaron did a podcast once and was talking about, he had 16 generations of the same, but he said when he made an outcross, he was looking for something,
That's
specific.
the question I was going for there.
Yeah, like whether it was, hard hunting dog or, big motor or whatever it was. When you made an outcross, were you looking for to fix a hole in your dogs or what?
Improve a certain thing?
Yes.
When did you know you needed to make an outcross?
I didn't. No, I had seen, I guess, observation of people that were real protective of their line of dogs, and they just would not make an outcross. They bred brothers and sisters and fathers and daughters, and within 4 or 5 generations, they had a bunch of idiots, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do that. So what really worked the best for me is it came back down to if I say I had a good male and bred it to Shorty's dog, and I liked those
you did.
pups.
So sorry, pups.
And then breed that same male to Chris's dogs, and then I took the 2 dogs that was the most like my male dog and bred those 2 dogs together. See, I would be all back to half that male dog.
Yes.
And so that's the way I tried to breed,
Yeah.
And it worked good for me. I think it worked good.
How did you find, what did you look for in that stud or the bitch to do that outcross? What did she have to be for you to do that? Was it genetics? Was it ability?
No, I think the biggest thing, you've got to forget about that dog. Forget about that dog. Mm-hmm. You want to look at that dog's mother, daddy, that dog's brothers and sisters. And if the majority of those dogs were like that dog, then it was a good cross. But if you if you just breed a male to a female of anybody's dogs, in my opinion, you're going to get one pretty good dog. If both of them are pretty good dogs, you're going to get 1 or 2 good dogs. You're going to get 4 or 5 medium dog or decent dogs and 4 or 5 sorry dogs. If you do the way that I just mentioned a second ago, you're going to get 4 or 5 good dogs, a couple of medium dogs, and 1 sorry dog maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're never going to get them all.
Right.
I mean, I don't care. There's never going to be 100%, but you up your percentages, and that's all you're going to be able to do, in my opinion.
Do you think we're still stuck in the days? I still see people saying stuff like, 8 out of 10 dog pups in a litter aren't going to make it.
Not if you breed right, in my opinion, it won't.
Thank you.
Couldn't agree more. And I just made the mistake that and I knew I was making a mistake, but I had a phenomenal dog. But her litter mates were terrible. In fact, the very, very large majority of litter mates got cold, but she was so good. I had to try it.
Right.
And I got the same results you just explained. Mm-hmm. They were, the majority of the pups were Coles, and the mom and dad were phenomenal dogs. But I couldn't agree more with looking at the whole picture. And I've never heard it put that way. Forget about that dog. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, simple things like that stick to my mind. But you're 100% right. Forget about the dog. Look at the whole package.
Well, late 1970s, I had some exceptional dogs. If I had to go back and pick one or two of the best dogs I ever owned, they would probably be pre-70, but those dogs just never throwed pups.
Right.
And that's the reason why, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How careful were you on selecting where those pups went, and how much did that play a role in their success rates? Matched with the genetic makeup.
Well,
if you don't hunt a dog, it's not going to make it.
Exactly. Right. I don't know what percentage is in environment, circumstance, and condition, and versus genetics. You've got to have both. It just won't work without the other one. I don't care the best bred dog in the world. You can even I've even had experienced. I probably sold as many dogs as most people have, and I did it not because I wanted to be a dog trader. I did it to make a living, and some of the best dogs I think I ever sold went to people that maybe didn't even like them for whatever reason. And some of the mediocre dogs that I sold went to people that loved them, thought they were the greatest dogs in the world. It was just like when you reach in there and pick a pup out of the litter. I hope I get a good one, you know?
Right.
Well, and you said something, and it might have been Mike Cawley that said it. You asked him which one's going to be the best pup, and he said the one that gets hunted the most.
Yeah. That's what Mike says when you get
right.
You'd be standing there looking at litter pups. Which one you think's going to be best, Mike? And he'll say, the one you hunt the most.
He's a smart man. You know what I always said? What I tell everybody? Take them all out there on the yellow line of the highway, and the one that gets hit, try to save him, because that's going to be the best.
No kidding.
Oh man, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to check out Cajun Lights and Cajun Outdoors? While we're talking about people and companies and different things that support our lifestyle, Cajun Lights is one of those companies. We've got to be diligent in who we're sending our money to these days. Cajun Lights has a full range of lights, everything from one of my personal favorites, the Micro Gator. It's just a really handy light. I use it on everything around the house here. Use it on the farm. Use it when I'm on the road. It's just a lightweight, small light. And then it goes all the way up to one of the nicest competition coon hunting lights you could possibly have with the blinder. But above that, LW Nixon has all of the gear that you're going to need for your hounds, hound care. All of that can be found at Cajun Lights. Check them out. We also offer Cajun Lights on our website, in our shop at houndsmanxp.com. You can order your light from right there. The Houndsman XP Podcast only endorses products that we would use ourselves, and I do use Elite Nutrition supplements. Elite Nutrition offers supplements for your horses, your mules, your dogs, and even you. These all-natural products work with your dog's natural immune system and its normal, natural body function, not to treat symptoms, but to fix problems. Stop pumping pharmaceutical toxins into yourself or your dogs and start using these all-natural products that work with the perfect system that God gave you. Go to tryelitenutrition.com and check out their products for wound care, prebiotic, probiotic, puppy stuff. It's all there. Parasite control. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. And here's a news flash for you. Houndsman XP is a dealer of Elite Nutrition products. You can check out the whole lineup at houndsmanxp.com in our shop. And we are getting ready to add the full line of horse and mule supplements along with those outstanding dog products that we already carry.
You went to that breed days were you there this year or last year?
Year before last. Excuse me, year before last. And I met Dan Luke there at breed days. And he invited me up, and I went to West Virginia and hunted with Chief and Jill and Sis there, and had a wonderful time, and got to looking at the map. It was done in 9.5 hours up to Dan's house, and I finally held a gun on my pickup and made it go, and it drove up there, and I'm sure glad I did, because I had a wonderful time.
You've hunted all over the country with tons of people. You know, I'm curious, like, what are some of what's one of your most memorable hunts? What do you?
You know, probably a trip to Idaho would have had been the most memorable hunt that I ever made. And we really didn't catch that many bear, but man, did I have a good time. And just some of the people that I went with. I think people you hunt with, what makes a hunt, you know, as well as what you catch. I
think that's a good lead into the next question. What do you look for in a guy that you want to hunt with?
Oh, somebody that loves the sport as much as I do, and just as fun to be with. I don't really like a guy that's just all stressed out all the time about got to kill this or catch that, or I just want to enjoy the God's creation, enjoy the hounds, and when I leave, I said I had a good time. I'm happy.
Has it always been that way for you, or is that something that that you grew into?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that, because I started hunting when I was 9 with foxhounds and hunted for about 9 or 10 years. And I hunted in East Tennessee, and it was against the law to kill a red fox. So it was all about the hounds and about the camp out, and 9-year-old boy, that leaves a pretty big impression, you know, and I think that kind of formed my way of hunting since then, just all about what the progress of the hounds. Same way with a pup. I don't expect a lot out of a pup. I just want them to progress. Every time I take them, I want to see a little progression there from the last time. Yeah. But I guess to answer your question,
that we were talking just a little bit earlier, and I got distracted. But I know you and Chris were talking about it, and I kind of missed it. But you were talking about being here in this country and back in your younger days, and you'd catch a female lion and turn it loose, and somebody would come in there and kill it the next day. How important is it to preserve? You've been doing this for a lifetime. How important is it to preserve the wildlife on the landscape?
Well, with me, it was my livelihood, so I guess that was number one. Every time a lion was killed, that was one less I had to make a payday off of. And as an outfitter, your next year, my outfit was built on word of mouth, and if you had a bad season, you had to almost rebuild next year. If you had a good season, next year was assured, you know, because those people are going to go home and tell their friends. But we started out. I moved to Colorado in 1969, and I hunted there from 69 to 79, and I seen 2 lion tracks during that time. There just wasn't any lion in southwest Colorado. And we were driving over into Utah and hunting quite a bit over there and catching quite a few lion. There was a lot of lion. In fact, in I think 78, there was so many lion in Utah that I'm sure when they filled Lake Powell, the lion came up out of the head of the Grand Canyons there and kind of migrated east. But I caught 46 lion, mostly in the dirt over there, 46 or 47 lion that year. And the next year I went back, and the deer had got wiped out that winter so bad they closed that deer season down on Elk Ridge and over in that country for like 6 years. So those lions naturally migrated into Colorado, and I caught the first lion over there in or 79 in that area that I lived in there. And I was basically the only cat hunter there at the time, maybe a few other guys that was doing it part-time, but I made my living basically doing it running bobcats in the winter. And so the first thing we did was just kind of got together and say, okay, we're going to let these line grow and leave the females alone. And consequently, we did. And
you as in, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you as in, you said we got together. You and fellow houndsmen, or
we started. We had a coon club over there, and believe it or not, we had like 25 members there in the little town of Cortez. A lot of coon hunting at that time, and they weren't into cat hunting. And I've got so much. There's so much history. It's hard to tell it here in just a few minutes. I went shortly after that. I could catch a line pretty good back in the early 70s, by going to Utah and stuff. And probably actually 72 or 73, I went down to Arizona and hunted with a guy named Weldon Hoffman. And he had a tremendous amount of good pack of dry-gland dogs, and that really built a fire in me.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gotten off the subject about how to protect the live population, but anyway,
it all ties in.
Anyway, yeah, it does, and it's hard to connect it all sometimes, but it is important. And I think one thing that I learned, probably the biggest thing I learned about lion population, if you've got a female and you leave it alone, they'll be, through the lion studies and stuff that I've done, they might be 4 or 5 toms come by and visit that female. They might not be there all at the same time. In fact, they kind of all got a different circle, maybe one from the north and one from the east, west, south, but they'll all go by and they'll visit that female.
Right.
If you kill that female, you've just wiped that pattern of those line out. They're not going to come back through there, and it might take 5-6 years for another female to move into that area. So you're really just destroying your sport when you start killing females like that. And I'm not saying that a female don't need to be taken every now and then, or if it's depredating female or for whatever reason. But when you just go out indiscriminately killing lion and kill your females, you've killed your sport, really.
Yeah.
What do you think about the move that Utah made last year?
I'm not sure.
They reduced the mountain lion to non-game species, so you can hunt year round. You can.
Well, I guess it's going to be up to the sportsman if they want to preserve their sport. That they've got to. I think that probably happened because of pressure from the Deer Hunter Association and stuff. The best I can understand it, and I think so. It's up to the lion hunters how they want to protect their sport. If they want to keep a sport, they better hang in there.
Yeah, they got to show some self-discipline and self-control and be good stewards of the population.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think a lot of those, that whole deal was kind of an 11th hour deal that came through Utah through a legislator that had some influence from some outfitters of elk hunters and deer hunters, and if it was up to them, it's like
kill them all.
Yeah. And I know that Corey Huntsman with Utah Houndsman, and they were like fighting it tooth and nail, saying, we don't want this. So.
Well, I'm probably going to make the most profound statement I've made this whole podcast, but
that's why we're here.
We've been waiting for this.
Yeah, you've been waiting.
Yeah.
All right, here you go. You guys listen fast. But, our sport is being attacked from every side, from every side without naming them. And probably our worst enemy is ourselves. If we don't get along, organize, and just go out there and enjoy the creation, enjoy the sport, and forget about being better than somebody else, being jealous about this guy. if you do nothing else, that's the most important thing you can do.
There's a lot of freedom in just admitting that you got a bunch of trashy hounds and you're just out there to have fun. Exactly. I do it all the time, man.
Yeah.
And it's something I just had to come to realize, Took me a while to understand that. I always wanted the best hound. I always wanted to catch more game. I always wanted to do this. And then when I just finally decided, it's like, you got a bunch of junk, just have fun.
Well, in the end, it's all about you. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we feed them. It's all about you.
Oh, yeah.
It's, you know what I mean?
I don't feed hounds and not expect to catch game.
No,
but there is a lot of freedom.
I had a good friend tell me, you can't expect to catch one every time you go. And I said, well, I wouldn't go if I didn't expect to catch one.
There you go.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I never leave the house in the morning thinking, man, I hope I don't catch one. I'm just going to have fun.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why we do what we do.
Correct. Well, that's why you spend a lifetime breeding dogs and bettering yourself and bettering your dogs and bettering everything, is so that you can go expect to catch one every time you turn them loose.
I don't know how many people I've heard, I ought to just kill that dog. It did this, it did that. Man, I told them if I felt that way, I'd have been out of dogs a long time ago.
Right.
After doing this for 69 years, almost 70 years now, Van, how do you measure success today?
I think that just enjoy the day. Go home, feel good about my dogs, and feel like that. I guess it's all about my dogs. My deal is all about my dogs. If my dogs do good, I'm happy. That's what makes me happy.
Do you still have days where you go home and it's like, man, they didn't look good today. What am I? How do you dissect that day? How do you analyze that day? Do you look at the dogs? Do you look at at what point do you decide I need to make some changes, or I'm happy where I'm at?
I tell you, there's so much pressure from every direction. Just like I said a while ago, our country's getting chopped up to where it's just hard to find a place to hunt. I think finding a good place to hunt is about as important as anything. But like I said, I fret more about before I go hunting than after I've been hunting, because I just worry about things more than I used to worry about, as far as getting on somebody's property or getting a dog run over or on a highway, or I just do a lot of fretting. Once I got home, it's like, whew, made it through another day.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I bet that we see it back east, maybe at an accelerated rate, but I feel it now. It's hard to find a place to hunt back east where you don't have to worry about those things with dogs getting on property. But I bet you felt the same thing even in Cortez, Colorado, haven't you?
Well, after being there for all the years that I was there, sometimes I knew the boundaries better than the people that own the land.
Exactly.
So,
no doubt.
So it was, I felt pretty comfortable there. I could see, and with the trespass law in Colorado, it's terrible. I'm one of the worst states in the nation. But I moved down to Oklahoma, and it's a lot more open down there, and it's almost like going back in time 30 years in the area that I live. The attitude of people, and they don't worry about this, and their little 5 acres of green grass, and
right.
So it's a little the atmosphere is a little better down there, and I do enjoy that.
What are all the places that you've hunted, and Chris and I have talked about this time to time. A lot of people, oh, you've never hunted my country. It's the toughest, and I always said, everywhere you go, there's challenges. What are some of the challenges that you see for the dogs in southeast Oklahoma? What's different?
Well, I think the off game, probably the armadillo drive a dog that hadn't been around armadillo.
Lost them in a half shell.
Yeah, I mean that, and the hogs are fun to run if you do it right, but they're also dangerous, and I hate to get my dogs cut up on those. And you take a pack of bear dogs, run into a pack of hogs, it's a recipe for disaster. I'd say that's what I hate the worst about it.
Yeah.
Train wreck waiting to happen.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Well, what kind of words of wisdom you got to wrap this thing up? You already gave us your most profound. Give us your second most profound, Van.
Well, just hunt hard and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think be the short answer to that.
Yeah. Well,
here, I got a question for him, though. And we got to clear it with Wade Hollerman and Hunter Meekum, but are you coming to Diploma to hunt bear with us this year?
I told you don't invite me if you don't want me to come.
You're just invited.
Look for me there. Look for me there, buddy.
All right. Well, you got Hector's house is open for you.
There you go, buddy.
yeah, that's a great place to hunt. How many years do you hunt that ranch?
About 3, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got invited. It was. I guess I might have to renege on the statement of where the favorite place to hunt is now, that I got a place to hunt.
Oh, you don't have to say that just because I'm here.
I'll tell you what, that's one of my favorite places for sure.
A lot of game and a good. You've never hunted in a lodge with a good cook and good guides, and everything's first class.
Yep.
Well, let's make it 4 years this year.
All right. Look forward to it.
Yes, sir.
That sounds like a good deal. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up, Shorty.
Sounds good. Let's go buy you a mule.
No.
Oh, you're buying that mule.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
I can see it in your eyes.
I got too many other irons in the fire right now. I need one, but I'd love to have one, but I gotta get a couple other things lined out before I do that.
Well, after he buys that mule and he doesn't have everything lined out, you can ride that mule on the Paloma because it'll be there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go. You got hunting mule.
All right. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Houndsman XP Podcast. We're live from the Horses, Hounds, and Mules sale with Van Johnson and Shorty Gorham. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Remember, this is Fair Chase.